What's up, YouTube? It's Firearm Files here. Yes, I'm not clickbait, or no, I'm not clickbait. This video is legit. We are fixing to get some inside looks at a GLOCK V-Series. I know, I've only seen like one video out. Like, no one has had videos out on the insides and like what these things look like, except for like one guy, and he posted it. It was 4 hours ago. Right now it is 8 o'clock at night. He posted around 4 p.m. today, so hopefully I'm not too late to this. Before we start, I know I'm just some kid, and you're probably like, how did this random kid that has 1 subscriber get his hands on a V-Series? It's because of my job. I'm not going to say where I work. I'm sure you could put it together, though. I work with firearms a lot. I shoot firearms every single day. I build firearms specifically. I specialize in the AR-15 platform, the Glock platform, and then the AK platform. Those are my 3 big ones. I know almost everything there is to know about them, pretty much, especially Glocks. That's why, you know, whenever we got our V-Series today, or got our hands on a V-Series today, I instantly took it apart, tore it open, and I was like dying to see what the changes were. So before we get into it, I gotta pull out my EDC here. And the reason because I got parked. The reason because this is a GLOCK 27 Gen 5. You can see it right there. GLOCK 27, chance to win. Okay, I just got a text about some gun stuff I gotta check out. This is a GLOCK 27 Gen 5. In the videos that I am showing y'all, that I'm fixing to show y'all, and then we talk about it, I'm using this as a baseline, pretty much. This lower is always going to be on the right, and it's going to be the shorter lower. So whenever I start showing these clips, if you're like, oh, which one's the V-Series, which one's this and that, because I don't think I talked in the clips, because, you know, I wanted to be able to commentate over them. The shorter, because this is 27, it was a Glock 19 V-Series, so the shorter frame is going to be the Gen 5. The longer frame in these clips are going to be the V-Series. So we'll go ahead and unload right now. Glock 27 MOS. Now let's get into these clips, and I'm kind of going to talk about each clip. So as you can see in that clip, I don't know why I just like swatted right there. As you can see in that clip, there is little to no changes to the lowers of the V-Series, which a lot of people were worried, oh, are the triggers gonna work? Are they swapping out? Because the cruciform trigger design apparently is what's banned. But oddly enough, the triggers and the lowers are almost identical. So much so that I don't know if Glock intended this, but I put a Gen 5 19 slide on that V-Series lower, and it worked, which makes you start thinking, like, why are we redesigning, why are we doing all this if you didn't change the lower? But we'll get to it, because obviously if they didn't change the lower, they changed something. But we'll get to that. They did not change the lower. Everything in here that you saw on the previous clip is merely identical to the V-Series. The only things that they changed, which is weird, by the way, I'm sure you can see the pins right here on my Glock 27 Gen 5 trigger. These pins right here, they are a smudge, and I mean like 1 or 2, maybe 3 centimeters shorter, or I say shorter, lower on the trigger, so they're down more than on the Gen 5s, which is weird because switches didn't, I don't know if y'all know, but switches, the whole reason that we're redesigning, switches didn't have anything to do with your trigger and aftermarket triggers and all that, and all that did, them dropping that pin just a little bit, made it to where now not every Gen 5 performance trigger is going to work in a V-Series. So no, that answers the question. Not every single V-Series Gen 5 trigger is going to work, or a Gen 5 trigger is going to work in a V-Series. I know I'm spitting everywhere. However, a lot of them still will, just not every single one. So once they actually come out in mid-December, it's November 10th, and I got my hands on one. That's why I'm like trying to hurry up and make this video. Whenever they come out mid-December, hopefully we'll start figuring out what does and does not work with it. They also, the mag release is again, it's a hair smaller, not smaller, it's a hair lower. So usually it's right here, I mean, it's just a little bit lower on the frame, which I actually like because it's fairly easy to hit that mag release now and let that mag come out the gun. You know, it's not as hard as you would think. It just feels more natural, which it already felt natural enough, but it feels a lot more natural on the V-Series. The last thing that I noticed, and some people were saying, oh, well, certain Glocks are already flared. Not like the V-Series. The V-Series mag, the mag well is flared, which is actually kind of cool. Now, it's not huge. You can see mine is not flared, not in the slightest. You can see straight down my wall, you know. But it's flared. It's not huge, but it's enough. And I was, you know, having the V-Series in my hand, doing my magazine, and it makes a little bit of a difference. Pretty noticeably. So the lower is flared on the V-Series. The model we got was not MOS, and I heard that they were going to release only MOS. They're not going to. It was not MOS. I do not believe that they're releasing MOS. Now let's go on to the next clip, and I'll talk some more about it. Let me go ahead and put this 27 back together, and then at the end I'm going to show you all a video of the firearm put together. So now in this clip, I know my clips are very short. They don't show the best of stuff. But now in this clip, you can start to see some changes. Now we're on the slide. And again, I was under the impression that they were going to completely make metal components in the lower, make it to where you had to shave a lot of stuff or do all this crazy stuff to make a switch work. I didn't think they'd mess with the slide a whole lot, but it turns out it's the exact opposite. Instead of doing metal components down here, they did a lot of redesigning to the slide, which is weird enough because I know how everybody was talking about the cruciform trigger bar. As you can see, gun is empty, by the way. I know I'm pointing it at myself, but as you can see, that is my back plate. If we can get it to focus right there. Will we focus? Okay, well, we're not wanting to focus. But if you look at our back plates, theirs has a stair on it. Now, obviously that stair is to help get in the way of switches, stuff like that. Whereas on the Gen 5, it is a block in the center. If you want to rewatch that clip, it is a stair, a little stair instead of a block. And then I don't know if you also noticed, whenever I zoomed in at the end of that clip, the firing pin is small. It is a skinny firing pin. Don't really know the changes behind that. The firing pin spring still felt the same, about 5.5 pounds. The trigger feels like a Glock trigger. It's still mushy. It's still, you know, still a Glock trigger. Mush until it breaks. And we're talking about the V-Series here. So I don't know why they changed the firing pin mechanism, because the trigger bar and everything is pretty much the same. I will say they did swap out a return spring on the trigger bar like they have on the 48, 43X. You might be able to see it in the first clip. If not, I'm gonna see if I have some more clips to where I can show you what I'm talking about. But on to the next clip. Okay, in that clip, you can start to see, let me disassemble right here so I can point while I talk. On that clip, you can start to see the big changes to the V-Series, right? Even though it's not a huge change. And by the way, I found a new game mode you're gonna like. By the way, a lot of people, including myself, was worried, oh, redesign, Glock's not gonna be legitimate, it's not gonna be reliable, this and that. I can confirm after working on Glocks, Gen 3s, Gen 4s, 5s, even Gen 1s, dude. I've seen it all, and there's not enough changes at all to make this Glock unreliable. So it's gonna shoot the same. It's not gonna be better, it's not gonna be worse than the Gen 5. So I do want to put that out there. Do not stress, because I was stressing because I didn't know the extent of how much they were going to change. Like I said, I thought that they would go to the lower and make just all ththese little plastic pieces. This guy, I thought they'd make it all metal, right? And they didn't. They focused on the side. So as you can see in that video, do I have my knife on me? All right, so yeah, I do. So I can point. So in that video, you can see all right here, up and down the slide, they now have a, I don't know what the word, pretty much a ledge. They have a ledge, and you can go rewatch that clip. So they have a ledge all right here, right? And that is to stop the switches. And that ledge gradually goes towards, it slants towards the center of the slide. And it starts out big, gets smaller. That is the biggest change by far on the entire gun. That they added some ledges right here and on the other side. The detent, I know it's not technically called a detent, but this push little, I forget the name of this guy right here that my knife is touching. That is what resets your trigger. It pushes your connector right there. That is all the same. It works the same. It's the same. Everything's the same. But they do have that little line right there, and that whenever I think about it, now I don't put switches on guns. I don't do any of that. I have force resets. That's plain enough for me. I don't see the need to put switches or force resets on handguns anyways. Rifles are a different story. But to me, I have a Dremel at my house. We have a Dremel where I work. It looks like you could Dremel, sand, and polish that down and do a switch. So again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me on why they focused on the slide so much whenever they could have went and done the lower like everybody was expecting them to, because that was California's thing. Oh, the cruciform trigger bar where it's a little cross just like that cruciform trigger bar, which I don't know if you guys know, that is the trigger bar right there that my knife is poking, that little silver piece. That's what actually drops your spring right here. So that goes up, and then whenever that trigger bar comes down, it goes up and it releases, and then that pin hits the round goes off, recoil spring injects around, blah blah blah. So you think they'd focus on that, and they didn't. So very interesting. Let me go double check that clip one more time and see if there's anything else I'm missing before we move on to the next one. Yeah, after reviewing, there's other than the firing pin, but we already talked about that. They went with a narrower firing pin on the V-Series. But yeah, after reviewing, nothing else that I can see is different about the slide, at least on the internals. On the externals, the internals, like I said, the firing pin looks different, but the drop safety, all that stuff is the exact same. But what they're doing pretty much is on the V-Series, that line. So you can see this is raised right here, right? And my knife is on. That comes all the way up to right here. So now there's a line of metal that goes from right here, the back plate, all the way down and connects with that one right there. So all that is, again, is to stop a switch sear from going in there. Let me re-put mine back together and we'll get on to the next clip. So I guess I lied. After watching that last clip, I did notice that. So we talked about how there is going to be a line of metal coming right here down, or on this side actually. There's also going to be one on this side that goes in about 5 to 6 centimeters, and it lines up with that little stair that's on this guy. So this guy comes out and then goes down this little back plate piece, and there's a line of metal that follows that. I'm also going to put a picture in right now. It's so cold outside, bro. It's like retarded. And for that clip, again, just showing a little bit more in detail. If y'all spot anything that I didn't, because I didn't have very long to look at the gun, didn't have very long to video the gun. Again, because, you know, we're in November, and then, like, you're not supposed to get them until like December. I mean, certain people can. That's how we got it. Obviously, we didn't like steal it from Glock. But that was showing the lower. Again, not very many changes from a Gen 5 lower, if any, that I can spot, other than the spring down inside here that actually drops the safety, or returns the safety, I should say. That has changed, but you can't really see it in that, so I am sorry about that. But on to the next clip. And the last clip is just me showing the Glock 19 V-Series all put together. You can tell it's the V-Series clearly because, let me put this guy back together off camera because YouTube says we can't do that. It tells the Glock 19 V-Series because it says 19 right here, and then it's followed with V, and then there's also a V stamp right there. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave a comment. Hit me up, do whatever you want, get in contact with me. I'll answer as much as I possibly can about the new V-Series. But I'm a little shocked, guys, because I'm telling you, by December, somebody's going to figure out how to switch it, and they're going to have to redesign again because they're going to keep getting sued. It's going to keep being a whole thing. So I was very surprised that they focused on the slide and not so much the lower. So it still looks very switchable. Not saying we want to, y'all go out there and switch it, buy the V-Series, it's switchable. It's just this whole V-Series and all this was done to prevent switches. And to me, with my knowledge, it looks like I can still do that to the firearm. Not that I would. But that wraps up the V-Series. I just wanted to go ahead and put this video out there because I know there's like little to nothing on them right now. So drop a comment. If you got any questions, let me know. Subscribe if you want to. I tried my best, you know. I got a V-Series fairly early. I'm trying to put it out there. As soon as I got it in my hands, I instantly started thinking, oh, my people on YouTube, even though I get like 100 views, you know. But I started thinking like, let me show people. So, and that's all I'm here doing, guys. I'm showing y'all things I like, things that I do, things that I think, my builds, and just trying to keep y'all informed about what's going on with stuff. So if you like content like this, leave a like if you want, and subscribe if you want. I try and post at least like once every 2 weeks or once a week. So appreciate y'all coming in. God bless, and let's get hyped for the V-Series because it's looking pretty good. I mean, doesn't look like a bad gun. It doesn't look any better or any worse than the Gen 5s we got now. So thank you, guys.